Hello! Let us start with creating the main barrel of our 3D model. So Fusion 360, in order to create a 3D model in the solid workspace, we first sketch, then we extrude or revolve, followed by modifying that 3D model in order to reach our desired shape. So, to create the main barrel, of course, we have to sketch a circle. To sketch a circle, click on Create Sketch. Then, we will click on the plane that we would like to sketch in. In this case, let us select the XZ plane. To create a circle, on the top left, we have the Create. Here, we can create rectangles, circles, arcs, polygons, etc. And we can also define the dimensions of our shape. In the Modify tab, we can add fillets, chamfers, and so much more. Lastly, we have our constraints, where we will force the model to enter certain geometric properties in order to match our desired outcome. So in this case, we can make the model have tangent lines, parallel lines, perpendicular. We can find the midpoint of a line, etc. This is similar to engineering or ES1 or engineering drawing, where we can create specific constraints. To create our main barrel, click on Center Diameter Circle, or simply select the letter C on your keyboard. Select the center, and click and drag to any point. Do not mind the dimension, as we can adjust that later. Now, in our syringe, we of course have a smaller circle. This is our funnel. And lastly, we also have a handle on the top. So to create that, we will also create one circle over here. Alright. Now, let us set the dimensions of each of our circles. To create a dimension, go to the top left and click on Sketch Dimension. You can also click on the letter D on your keyboard. So for the main barrel, we will have an outer diameter of 13.8 millimeters. And for the inner barrel, or the funnel, we will have a diameter of around 6 mm. Notice that when we add a constraint to our sketch, the lines become white. When the lines are white, that means our sketch is constrained and we can no longer move it around. If it is blue, we can still drag it around and move around the sketch. The goal in creating a sketch is to make every object a white line, such that we have completely constrained our sketch. When we completely constrain the sketch, we can ensure that when we edit the sketch later on, that we are not accidentally moving the sketch around. Now, to create the upper part of our syringe, first we will make sure that this circle is aligned with the center circle. To do that, we can go to Constraints and click on Horizontal and Vertical. We will select our center alongside the center of our circle on the left, which will force it to be horizontal with the center circle. And as you can see, if I try to drag this, it will no longer move up and down. Next, we will add lines. To create a line, go to the top left and click on Line. We will select this circle and the outer circle. We will repeat that at the bottom. Now, we want these two lines to, of course, be tangent to both circles. So click on Tangent and click on the outer circle and the line. Then click the line again and the smaller circle. This will create a tangent constraint on both circles allowing the line to maintain its tangent. Okay, now we will do the same thing on the bottom. But first, constraints can actually be automatically added when you create a sketch. So for example, if I create a line and I click on a circle and I click on the other circle, as you can see, a green tangent symbol appears. When I click this, it will automatically add a tangent constraint to our line and circle. So let me add a tangent constraint here. Alright. Now once we have this, we can add a dimension to the circle. So for that, our dimension will be around 5 mm. Okay. Now, we want to set the distance between this center point and this center point. So click again on dimension or letter D. And we will set our dimension to around 12 mm. Okay, now using the modify tool, we can use the trim tool to delete half of this circle such that we will have a smooth curve. Now, of course, we want this to be mirrored on the other side of our model or of our sketch. So what we can first do is draw a line. This line will act as a mirror line. To draw a line, we will click the center and drag it all the way to the bottom. Notice that this line is crooked. To make it straight, we can also click the vertical or horizontal constraint to ensure that it is a vertical line. However, since we are only using this to mirror our sketch, we can click on the line and click on the letter X on our keyboard, which will convert the line into a construction line. Construction lines do not interfere when we are in the 3D space. It allows us to add, for example, in a drawing, sketch lines into our sketch. So these lines are not going to interfere later on when we 3D model our syringe. Now, to mirror this, we can go on to letter S. We can click letter S, or we can go to mirror in create. Letter S allows us to search for any shortcut in Fusion 360. So for example, if we need to mirror, we can search for mirror. Or for example, if we're back in the solid workspace, click on letter S, and we can search for any shortcut. For example, extrude. So let's go back into our sketch. So in case you have exited your sketch, you can go to the bottom left to the timeline and double click your sketch. Now, we will mirror the sketch by clicking on S, typing mirror, or by going to create and clicking on mirror. First select the objects that you want to mirror. So in this case, it will be these two lines and this arc. Then select our mirror line, which will be the construction line that we just created. Click on OK. Alright. Lastly, we want to create the circle for the outer part of our tube. So again, click on circle or letter C, and we'll draw a smaller circle, and we will set the dimension, letter D, to be 3 mm. Now, let us fix our dimensions so that it's all clean. So we can drag our dimension lines. There we go. And now, let us click on Finish Sketch. Alright. So, now, let's move on to extruding our 3D model.